Hey, what up guys, this is Mel Mighty, welcome back. So finally guys, I posted on Instagram about my destructure deck called the Lair of Darkness. And it's really cool. I picked some of the cards that from that deck and it's a little bit kind of, I don't know, messy when just using those cards by themselves. So I kind of add just a few things in there and then kind of add some supports for this deck because there's a lot of card effects that attribute the monster to resolve the effect. So I want to show you guys a couple of the cards here and then kind of explain through each card. And of course everyone knows each of these cards from that structure deck, so I'm not gonna really explain everything, but pretty much kind of explain how this works. So let's go ahead and start it. And obviously you're gonna have a three copies of Darkest Diablo. This guy's pretty cool. You can, if you ever tribute it for a card effect, you can actually bring this guy from the hand or graveyard. So it doesn't matter where it is, as long as this guy's in the graveyard or the hand. Also, he has another card effect, is that if you tribute a dark monster, and then you can actually place one card from opponent's hand and then place from the top or the bottom of their deck. So it's really cool. So you can kind of like manipulate the opponent's hand and the deck. So this guy's really big. So even though he's a level 8 and is a 3000 hitter, but it doesn't mean it's really, you don't need to have 3, but for personally I want to keep it 3 because it kind of gives it a good effect. So but I'm not looking for a big hitter from this card, but it's really nice to have him as 3. And obviously you're gonna have a Arima. Oops, it might slips a little bit slippery, but anyway, Arima is really cool. He has a couple of effects, which is one thing, you can discard this card from a hand and then search for Lair of Darkness, which is the field spell. If you want to tribute, while this guy's on the field, you can tribute Dark Monster to either search for 2000 or higher defense monster, which is this guy's a good example, or you can draw one card. So it's really nice. He does have a good search and draw power. It's really nice to have a Lilith because she's also part of the structured deck. She's a really specialty with search for any normal trap cards, but specifically she basically at opponents choose one of those 3 normal trap cards and excuse me, have them to choose it and then place them set on your field. So it's really nice if you already have a lot of normal trap cards on your deck. It's nice to have that, and 3 is really best. And here's a couple of the good ones. The Inferno Dragon, personally I like him because he has a tribute effect. If this guy destroyed by battle, yeah, I think it's just a battle, and then send it to the graveyard. You can tribute one monster and then special summon this guy from the graveyard. So if it's really nice to have a good to have this guy because it chains with the Diablo. He has an effect which is tributed by the fact that you can special summon this guy from the graveyard, and this guy special summon as well. So you can have 2 monsters special summon in one turn. And you have a 2 Relinquiribo. I almost say relinquish. So this guy's really cool. So basically, a effect that if this guy tributed for the card effect, you can draw 1 card. And another effect is if any of your monster, you can banish this card from the graveyard instead. So it's kind of like a Return of the Dragon Lords in the graveyard, and it's really nice. Keeping 3 is fine, but 2 is kind of for me just a limit because you don't want to overwhelm yourself just to having these guys to protect yourself. You're gonna need some offense. And Creep Bandit, I put 2. I heard some people put 3, but 2 is kind of good enough. And he has a tribute effect at the end phase. If this guy normal summon, you can just search for basically excavate 5 cards from your deck and then top deck, and then pretty much any spell and trap and put in your hand and send the rest to the graveyard. So it's really nice to have search, and well, not search, but pretty much search for any spell and trap that you draw, and then he has an tribute effect, basically bring this guy to the from the graveyard or even hand. And here are some of the more cards like Zombina. I put double Zombina because she's really cool actually, to be honest. I think she has a good effect for special summon any monster that are level 4 or lower, because most of these guys are level 4 or lower, so it's really nice to have them. Especially these guys are in the graveyard, it's nice to have them to keep constantly bringing your monsters on the field. But this guy she has to be destroyed by monster effect or battle, so to make it happen. So, but she's really awesome. But to be honest, is something that I wanted to keep it just in case. I mean, and it doesn't matter if she's really dark or not, because in case you have a layer of darkness in your field, she'll be just a dark monster anyway. Continue on. Sorry, I got a few more monsters I want to show you guys, so I'm gonna clean that up. And then I put one tour guide from those underworld. She's really good. So basically, she's normal summon. You can special summon level 3 fiend monster from my hand or deck, even though her any effect monster is negated. So it's a real example. Some people online actually did some deck profile. So basically, you contribute with this card effect, but you cannot resolve it. So we just kind of really understood it finally, that it doesn't have to be resolved to make it happen. So because basically, if you want to use her effect by tributing herself or even tribute her, but it doesn't mean it's gonna resolve it. Basically, you don't have to search 3 normal trap cards for this effect. You can pretty much just say, oh, I'm just gonna tribute it for the effect, but it's not gonna resolve it. When it does tribute it, you can bring out Diablo, because that's pretty much the chain. So it's really awesome. It goes together. So I really like that. So yeah, definitely tour guides are really the best support for this deck. And I got single card a Duke Shade. He's really cool. Basically, if you have a Lair of Darkness, it's really huge advantage. You can tribute any dark monster you could on the field, and then it gains 500 attack for each monster you tributed. And there's another effect that you can actually add level 5 or higher dark monster on your graveyard. So it's really nice. So you're just gonna have 1 or maybe 3 if that's where you want to get at. But I put 1 just to be safe. Caius is really good. It's a new Monarch card. And this guy, you can tribute it with 1 dark monster or just 1 monster in general. But ideally, it's better to have dark monster to be tributed to tribute summon this guy, because it actually allows you to banish any of the cards on the field, specifically opponents' field. So it's really nice. And at the same time, it's a big hitter, which is 2800 attack. Another big hitter, I personally loved it, is a legendary Maju Garzat. So this guy's really awesome. This basically, you can special summon by tributing all the monster I control. But Lair of Darkness, remember, Lair of Darkness can actually does that. Allows me to use opponent's monsters as well for tributing. Activating effect by tributing. So this guy is considered effect monster. So basically using effect to special summon. So it's not tributing. So you can definitely use him to tribute any of your opponent's monster. If let's say if he has 5 and then you have 4 or 5, and I tribute all 10 of them, bring this guy, and he gains attack, like all combined attack of those monsters, and that's gonna be a huge hitter of this deck. So you definitely need to have this guy in this Lair of Darkness deck. And then lastly, Battle Fader. Battle Fader is really something that, in case you you don't have any monster on the field, and then directly attacked, this is the key for this deck. So I definitely want to have this guy just in case, and I don't want to overwhelm myself with hand traps, because you really want to fully explore with what this deck is trying to do. So those are the monsters, and let's kind of briefly get to the field spell cards. You definitely need to have Lair of Darkness. You need to have 3 Terraforming, which is really huge search for your Lair of Darkness. And I put 2 Fires of Doomsday, because it's in case you need to use them to tribute for the effects, or even tribute a tribute summon dark monster. Specifically, if you want to bring out the Caius is really good, so you could actually use them. So it's a huge advantage for your deck. I put the 1 Dragon Shrine, Foolish Burial. These 2 are really good to send any of your monsters, particularly Dragon type monster. If you have a Diablo, you can just send them to the from deck to the graveyard. So these guys are really awesome. Enemy Controller. I wanted to have 3 of this. Luckily, there's not limited. So basically, this guy, because tribute any monster you control, and then you could take over, control your opponent's monster onto the end phase. So basically, if you have Lair of Darkness, and then you can use this effect by tributing your opponent's monster. So if you had the second one, you could basically take control of it and then tribute the second one, the first one. So basically, your opponent has no monster on the field. So it's really nice. I put a Lair of Darkness, sorry. So basically, draw and power, draw 2, and then banish 1 dark monster from your hand. And if you don't, you just send it to the graveyard. And you have a recurring nightmare. So it's nice. It's not. I don't want to overwhelm myself with just this card, because you don't have so many monsters with defense, 0 defense. You have very few of them. Like, let's say you have a Lilith, and you have a Arithma and Infernal. So those guys are really good, but you don't really want to use this too much. Dark Hole is the last spell card. These are pretty much just the basics. I honestly don't know really how this deck will look like, but you can try them out a couple times, and you can kind of adjust a few things, especially for spell cards. Alright, lastly, the trap cards. Not so much with trap cards, because you already have these guys are pretty much doing their good job really well. So 3 grinding grave virus, and full force virus, crush card virus, and lastly Curse of Darkness. Curse of Darkness is kind of well, first thing, you want to take a lot of decks that using a lot of spell cards. So in case they use more spell cards than I do, then you could just inflict them with 1,000 points. So it's really nice. It does have a burner, and then it has a destruction of opponent's deck and the hand. So this is really nice. If you have Diablo and then tribute, or even have a lot of huge attack and tribute them, you could definitely use them. So you could destroy their deck, or even hand if they have a lot of cards in the hand. You could just destroy them. And this is basically for defense. This is for attack, and this is just a burner. So this is really cool. So you have a nice balance, but it's up to you. It's however you think is the best to your focus on. So now, kind of not so much on a extra deck. I got Deco Attacker. You don't really need it, but in case you have 3 or more in your field, you could just do that. Proxy Dragon, if you like, level 8, because you have Diablo and other big hitters are level 8. You could use a number 62 if you want to. That's kind of an optional. You do have some level 4. You could use Kachikochi Dragon. So it's not like optional. It's optional, but you could definitely use them to kind of have some fun with it. You can do number 70. So these are pretty much so far my extra deck monster, and a couple of tokens here. So just to have fun with it. So these are pretty good. It's nothing really like the mandatory things, but these are pretty much a good or some optional for your deck. So. But I definitely recommend to have a couple of good cards for your main deck, not your extra deck, because I honestly don't want to overwhelm with trying to figure out how to bring out a lot of extra deck monsters. But this is like trying to figure out how you want to bring this guy as much as possible, and a couple of good supporting monsters like her, and like these guys are big hitters. You really want to bring these guys as much as possible, or early as possible. So, but here it is, guys. I mean, these are really new. I mean, it just released this year, not so long ago. But a lot of people trying to make this deck really good, and some people trying to make as a lot of hand traps, so they have a lot of stolen time to bring these guys and then playing around with it. But honestly, you have plenty of ways to do it. It's just a matter of how much you want to balance this deck, and how long it'll take you to be consistent with the deck. This deck is not as much consistent as you expected, but it just depends how you want to play it out with it. And personally, I just want to kind of playing around more with the monsters than the spell and trap cards. Spell and trap cards are more about, well, my spell cards are more about bringing monsters to the graveyard and tribute them for effect, and trap cards are more about destroying and burning opponents. So basically that. So, but other than that, most of the monsters are kind of doing both. Not so much in a burning, but basically other than that, these guys somewhat balanced. It just, like I said, it just depends on the consistency of your deck. So, but here it is, guys. I hope you like it. If you have any suggestion, or if you thought this is a really good reference for your Lair of Darkness deck, please like or subscribe. And yeah, give me some suggestion by the comment section below. And if you think there's other cards out there that really works well, other than hand traps, I know hand traps are really like OP, but other than that, if you have some suggestion, please give me some comments and some suggestion as well. And yeah, thanks again. I hope to see you guys next time for the next deck profile video.